Hmm. Well, if you change this thing. I want to change it transformation college name to our own.
Around the login things. Around the door things.
Oh, we should change that.
20 minutes around the paper. This one.
And still showing this thing. Name.
Yeah, Bodu, you need to allow me share my screen. Bodu, you need to allow me share my screen.
Okay, sir.
All right. Okay. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you all here. Abdul, good afternoon. I trust you're very well. Professor Abdul of the Global International Business Management and ISO Transformation Community. Professor Abdul. Abdul Fattah. Good afternoon. Mr. Adenkaido, good afternoon. It's great to have you here. Mr. Damilare Bakari, it's great to have you here. Susan, I have not seen or heard from you in ages. So, Susan, it's great. I haven't seen you, I haven't heard from you in ages. It's great to have you here also. Ibrahim Alarapwe, it's great to have you here. Ikechuku, it's great to have you here. Okay, so once again, good afternoon. Um, um, okay, so I will start in a minute. I want the idea is to get this done in about an hour. So this is about lunch time for some people, so we don't want to take too much of your time. So I'm going to try to get this done very quickly. I'm going to try to get this done very quickly. So bear with me if you end up feeling like that I'm a bit fast. Okay, right? I have to be because of people's time. So Bear with me if it seems I'm a bit fast. So all right, so it's good. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Um, I cannot speak about everything that has got to do with digital transformation today. It's impossible for me to cover digital transformation end to end in an hour. I'm only going to try to do as much as it's humanly possible over the next 1 hour. Digital transformation is a big topic. Some people are even doing masters in digital transformation. There are some 3-month courses that people are doing in all sorts of expensive and sophisticated schools around the world on digital transformation. So it is impossible for me within the next 1 hour to try to cover any and everything that has got to do with digital transformation. So all I'm going to try to do is to give some kind of introduction. But please, you need to pay attention to the people in the waiting room because different people keep coming in and they end up being in the waiting room. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
once again, I cannot cover any and everything that has got to do with digital transformation. I'm only going to talk about it from the perspective of the material that we're looking at today. So, but before we jump straight into it, can everybody on the call, can you just share your thoughts with me in the chat room? What does digital transformation, what does it mean to you? Everybody, what does digital transformation, what does it mean to you as a person? It would be nice to get the thoughts, to get the opinion of different people tied to that. What does digital transformation, what does it mean for to you as a person? Can I hear, can I go, I want to go to the chat room and I want to read from different people. What does digital transformation, what does it mean to you as a person? As a person, what is the concept of digital transformation and what does it mean to you? I want to go to the chat room. I definitely want to hear from everybody that is on the call. What does it mean? Does it mean software? Does it mean hardware? Does it mean, I mean, really, what does it mean? Does it mean infrastructure? If somebody puts in a lot of great, excellent infrastructure, does that translate into digital transformation? What does digital transformation, what does it mean to you as a person? I want to hear from everybody that is on the call, if you do not mind. Okay, if you don't mind, I want to hear from everybody that is on the call this afternoon. What does digital transformation, what does it mean to you? Okay, so some people, digital transformation might mean cloud. So if somebody has something that they bought on the cloud, that might translate into digital transformation for some people. For some other people, it's great. So for some other persons, it's going to be way more than that. So let me go to the chat room in a moment. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you for that. Okay, business process, yes. Digital transformation, rewiring an organization, yes. Creating value, okay. So I think yeah, good. Joe, improving productivity. Okay, good. Let me take from some 3 or 4 others. Quickly, everybody, what does it mean to digitally transform? What does it mean to digitally transform your organization? Does it mean you adopting a platform like Odoo, right? There's a platform called Odoo that I can see that a lot of organizations are beginning to adopt, right? Does it mean something like that? Please quickly let me hear from some others before I then launch my slides and take some of the key things in my session. Very quickly, let me hear from some others. What does digital transformation, what does it mean to you. Okay, so and it definitely can mean a variety of things to different people. It can mean a variety of things to different people. One of my clients, they're trying to digitally transform their own organization, and they are using their school, and they're using something like it's called Fedena, for example, right? So if a school goes to look at a solution like Fedena and they use it to transform the way their school operates, the way their school works, the way things are done in their school end to end, right? All from beginning all the way to the end. Does that translate? In fact, I like that Fedena because it's got something called the A to Z of school management, and I find it to be very interesting how schools and educational institutions themselves can truly transform. How schools and educational institutions themselves can truly transform. A lot of people don't even know that. So, in Nigeria, it's almost like, and sometimes in Ghana too, it's almost like our focus is always on what's that thing called? On banks and financial services. It's almost like our interpretation is always around banks and financial services. But there are many industries that can transform. There are many industries that digital transformation can apply to. Let me read from one or two others, and I'll just go straight to my slides, and I'll try to finish it very quickly. Abiodun, good, automating, good. So yeah, so that's how some people look at it, that internal processes, Ibrahim, digital technologies, yes. Digital business strategy, yes. Okay, good. Abdul, automating processes, procedures, and things like that. Yes, I agree. Integration of digital technology, Edith. Thank you very much. Move from analog to or manual to automation. So yes, so some people will say digital transformation is using maybe something like what's that thing that Microsoft has got? Microsoft maybe Power Automate, isn't it? If you go and look at Microsoft Power Platform, it's probably a better way for us to put it. If you can look at what Microsoft calls the Power Platform. So for some people, if you leverage Microsoft Power Platform, that kind of means that you're digitally transforming your organization. So definitely it can mean different things to different people. Today, all we're going to try to do is to explore how the open group are the ones in charge of TOGAF. And I know for some people that are here, you've attended one thing or the other on TOGAF that we have done in the past, TOGAF and enterprise architecture. So that's what this really kind of that's what this whole session is about. We're not talking about digital transformation generally. I'm speaking specifically around how Open Group says you should look at what digital transformation is. That's what we're looking at today. And I think they've done a decent job. I won't call it a perfect job, but I think they've done a decent job looking at digital transformation using this Open Group documentation. I think they have done a decent job. My big challenge on this call is to ensure that I don't take too much time. That's very important. Like, that I can do this very quickly and not turn it into a full training class, because that's usually the temptation. The temptation is for me to turn it into a full training class rather than just an introduction, because the whole course in itself takes about 5 days, right, to be able to go through the entire course in itself. So all we're going to try to do is to do some kind of introduction into it, and who knows, someday, sometime, we might run a public course, or your organization might be looking to do this specifically for its staff. So we might do that at some point in time, either a public course or where organizations just want to do it for their own staff, so to speak. So this is not the word of God. It is it's a view, and it's an approach to digital transformation. So don't think that, if there's something I did not cover or something that you think I should have spoken about that I did not cover, it's not that's not everything. But yeah, it's useful for you to do this. So yes, that's what we're here for. Open Group is an organization. They have a material that came out about a year or two ago. It's called the Digital Practitioner Body of Knowledge. The Digital Practitioner Body of Knowledge. And you can type that into Google, the Open Group Digital Practitioner Body of Knowledge. You will see the material and some clips here and there. They even have an exam and all that, but we're not holding this session because of exam. I know in Africa we're very much into qualifications and examinations and things like that. The idea is not just for us to pass an exam, but to help your own organization or to help other organizations digitally transform. That's what's important. So we're not really here focused on how do you pass an exam. I'll still give you a quick assessment at the end. At the end of this session. So I'll give everybody a quick assessment to do. Just something that can be done in 5 to 10, something that I'll ensure that can be done in about 15 minutes. So we'll wait on the call and we'll allow everybody do that in a couple of minutes. But yeah, so let's get into it. You will find clips of the whole thing available online. All right. Okay, so good. So this is big, right? This is one big conversation for all of us. This is one big conversation for all of us. This is one massive conversation for everybody. So the whole world is going through this. And in fact, this morning I was watching TV, Arise TV, and I was just shaking my head when they said that, the Binance guy, you put him in prison or you lock him up, and then the guy disappears. I found that. Did anybody else? Please go to the chat room. Tell me. Let me hear from everybody quickly before I even go ahead with my conversation. Did you hear that they said that the guy was in prison and then he disappeared? Did anybody hear that? That the guy, the Binance guy, right? That he just they now said that the NSA office is looking for him. I was like, wow. So some guy just developed wings and disappeared. Some guy just developed wings and disappeared. That is interesting. I found that to be hilarious. I found it to be very so, it's becoming, I mean, every time you watch is one thing, the complexity right now. I mean, everybody's all literally upside down. And I guess that's why this material has been written. This material has been written to be able to address these types of things, right? So the VUCA infested world, the VUCA completely infested world. You just listen to the news, and from Gaza to all sorts of places. So organizations are in literally, it's almost like organizations are in trouble. Like literally, it looks like companies are in trouble. And if any organization that is not, that is not worried or not taking specific, I'm not concerned about the worry, not taking specific steps to be able to handle some of these things is going to end up being a challenge. is going to end up being a challenge. So even for us as an organization, as a training school, as an audit organization, we have all these things at the back of our minds that we're thinking about, because it just becomes much more complex as the days go by. So, and of course, this whole digital transformation thing, it's a buzzword, right? It's a buzzword everywhere you go to. Somebody's talking about it. IoT, they're talking about IoT, they're talking about one thing or the other. They're talking about blockchain, big data, cybersecurity, those regular themes, right? They're there. So everybody's talking about it. How, so it's almost like digital transformation has become some kind of myth. It's become some kind of myth whereby you're just like, okay, what does this even mean in itself? What does this mean in itself? So it's good that we're taking a look at it so that at least we can demystify some of those things and we can shed light onto them from the digital practitioner body of knowledge, the open group. So the people who are just coming, this whole session is primarily driven by what we call the open group digital practitioner body of knowledge. That's what it is. So it's digital transformation according to the open group digital practitioner body of knowledge. So and so I put this out, right? I mean, you can only be as effective as how you use technology. So I wrote this, right? I did this for an organization recently. I held a workshop for them. I guess maybe some of them might even be in this room on this call as we speak. So these are some of the things we discussed as part of that meeting, saying to them that, you can only be as good and as efficient as how you automate and use digital processes. It's very important. Every time I'm looking at all these guys who have become, they start out from Instagram, and then they start to do from doing skits, and then after that they start to get what are those things? Companies will start to sponsor them, and then the next thing they go ahead and become full-blown comedians. Apart from becoming comedians, they also become actors, and these are just people who have sat down and they've just mastered one thing or the other relative to digital platforms, especially social media platforms in this particular instance. So you will never become effective and efficient if you don't get this right. So this is a problem. We do a lot of ISO work, and then we tell a lot of organizations that all these ISO things that we're doing, they're just nice to have. Because if you don't use technology to automate them, you're just going to end up with a bunch of processes and procedures. If you do 9001 and you don't have an ERP, then you don't know what it is that you're doing. If you do 27001 and you don't buy an antivirus, you don't buy a SIM, you don't buy a data loss prevention system, you don't buy a DAM, you don't buy those things, and you don't adopt them appropriately, then all you have is just a bunch of policies and procedures. So, in Africa, most people do these things simply because of the regulator. So these are huge challenges. So if you're going to even be a good ISO practitioner, somebody who's going to be helping organizations use and adopt ISO standards, then you have to understand how digital transformation occurs even within that particular sphere, so to speak. I also put it here that it's about evolving market and customer expectations. So the customer and market expectations change every day. What our clients wanted from training nights last year is different from what our clients want from us now. Now we have a lot of organizations that are asking us for AI training. A lot of organizations are saying, can we do AI training? Can we do AI training for them? Another organization came to us last week. They wanted us to do something on ESG, right? Environment, social, and governance. So these conversations are becoming more prevalent. So the market is always changing. The customer expectations are always changing. So these are things you need to think about fundamentally. I also like this diagram. It's from Microsoft. It talks about digital transformation. I've been using this diagram for about 5 or 6 years, especially when we're doing something that's got to do with especially when we're doing things that have got to do with maybe ISO 9001. So I'm always talking about how can your ISO standard help align to empowering your employees? How does it allow you to engage your customers? How does it help you to optimize your operations? And how does it help you to transform your product? I'm always having this conversation, talking about this to different clients and saying that, how does this work? How does your organization do this? Your ISO 9001 and your Odoo and those kinds of platforms, how are they helping you relative to this? And this is critical as it is. So now, and if you do digital transformation, I remember one of my clients, he had a big document. The document had been written by some big international company for consulting firm for him. He put it on his table. He said, "Oh, when we're having a meeting," he said, "No, he can never allow anybody to see the content of the document, blah, blah, blah." The organization that they did all that for has even closed down right now. The company has completely disappeared. I went to another bank at some point in time. They had all sorts of workshops. They went to the UK, went to America, went to all sorts of places. And I can tell you that that bank is still alive today, but they really should be closed, honestly, because the people think digital transformation is a set of PowerPoint documents. That's what they think. They think digital transformation is a set of documents that you share, you keep in your computer. So it's like saying that this my session right this is equal to digital transformation for an organization. No, it's not. This is just conversation around digital transformation. It does not translate into how the organization will digitally transform and how they will get benefits out of what it is that they do. So this is a big deal. If you're pursuing anything in digital transformation, you've got to think about benefits. You've got to think about what are the benefits that we're going to get out of this as an organization. How tangible benefits, they say if it can't be measured, then it can be improved. So what are the tangible benefits that you're going to get out of as an organization? And there are many, many approaches. People would have, the world loves strategy. So people people, please invite me if you're going to Seychelles or one of those places for strategy sessions that I like to go to, right? But you can do your strategy session in your office and it will still work, right? So people just act like, if it's not in some secluded place and think something like that, digital transformation is not going to work. It can work even if it's not in some secluded location. And people have all sorts of things, operational backbone, shared customer insight, plenty English from all sorts of people around the world, right? People have stages, phases. It's an endless list of things that people say when it comes to digital transformation, 6 stages of digital transformation. It's good to have documentation. It's good to have PowerPoint. It's good to have meetings. By the end of the day, what is the tangible benefit? And I think that's it. What is the actionable roadmap? So first is the actionable roadmap, and 2, the tangible benefits. Towards the end of this presentation, I put some tools. I don't think in modern day, and I was with an organization last week, and I was telling them that they will never move forward if they don't go to adopt a tool like Jira or something close. I told them, because they were talking about digital, they were talking about transformation. I'm like, how come you don't even have anything that allows you to be able to manage tasks and projects within the organization? So once again, this is a big deal as it is. Let me skip some of these things. So in this body of knowledge, it talks about, it makes references to all sorts of things, from agile to design thinking, to lean, to DevOps, to site reliability engineering. There's somebody that I know, he's in Canada now. He has every kind of qualification that you can shake a stick at, but he doesn't even work in any of those roles. Why? Because he has more qualifications than skills. So, and that's the thing about us. We like qualifications. Most of us, if we ever travel, we have more qualifications than our bosses, but they will still be our bosses. So it's not just about, some people say, oh, DevOps, I have a qualification. Scrum, I have a qualification. This one, I have a qualification. It's good. It's not bad at all. But in all you're getting, make sure that you get, you garner the right skills. It's about skills. What is the point of saying I understand some of these things, but they put you on a simple tool like Bitrix. You don't even know how to navigate the tool. They tell you in the organization you have to use Jira, and you don't even know how Jira works. So what's the point when most people cannot use those tools? People have sat down in product management training classes, but they will struggle to use a tool like Pencil. So People have come for business analysis training, but when you tell them that we need to get to the point where we need to start to practice using maybe Visio, or we need to use any of Bizagi, the people don't understand how to use any of those things, and they don't even want to understand. So during training classes, people will say that, oh, leave this one, we'll come back to it later. Don't worry, we will learn the tool later. Let's pass the exam first. But when you travel, they're not going to hire you based on an exam, right? This is not law or accounting. They're not going to hire you based on an exam. This is technology. They're going to hire you based on the skills that you have. So you don't even know how AWS works. You don't have an AWS account. If you log you onto it, you can't even create a simple VM. And you're talking about passing the exam. What has an exam got to do with the skills? So the material covers some of these things, and it talks about them one way or the other. As I said, my temptation is that I feel like is to want to teach the whole course in itself, but I'm going to ensure that I don't, and I'm going to limit myself by time as it is. So there are many things inside of the material. So everybody, if you look at my, right, once again, even has some Linux code for some batch and shell scripts. It makes references to batch and shell scripts for infrastructure as code. It talks a lot about continuous integration and continuous delivery. Of course, it does not really talk about whether it's Azure or it's AWS, but you're doing this, you need to go and ensure that you understand how these things work either on Azure or on AWS or on the Google Cloud platform. Okay, so it really does mention a lot of these things. Once again, I'm not going to try to read this whole set of slides to you, but we can't take this away. And that's why in modern day, you know, who organizes these things, and Victoria, they can see that, you know, there's a decline in the number of people who want to do project management. There's a massive decline. At some point in time, we'll have people who want to do PMP and Prince 2. Every month, we'll have people who want to do Prince 2 and PMP every month. But now, people are more interested in product management. So everybody's talking about product management. Everybody's talking about product management. So we've had a massive decline from people wanting to know about how to manage product or projects appropriately to wanting to focus on products. And of course, I understand that, but a product is a product, a project is a project. So however you want to look at it, either products being subsets of a project or a massive product being broken into multiple projects, however you want to look at it. Once again, you will also hear all these interesting things like product research, behavioral economics. You know, there's the conversation of UI UX every day. Every day, somebody's going to say something about UI UX as it is. So that's another massive conversation. And I'll just say go and learn Figma. Learn Figma both from the tool side and from the concept side. Learn Figma both from the tool side and the concept side. And then there's the other things like enterprise architecture, service management, and many other things. Let me move on once again, because there are some 12 key things. Some definitions, I find these definitions to be very interesting. So look at what they have said with regards to digital transformation. Radical, fundamental change towards becoming a digital enterprise. Radical, fundamental change towards becoming a digital enterprise. And that's a big deal. And what is a digital enterprise? An enterprise that is characterized by creation of digital products and services that are either delivered fully digitally, or where, you know, or maybe partially. The physical obtained by the customers via digital means. So I mean, of course, all of us have one bank account, that we interact with via our phone or the other. And you can contrast that to the days where we had to physically go to a bank. So the material also contains some definitions. And once again, because I don't want to spend all my time, all your time this afternoon, I don't want to take too much of your time. So it talks about what is the product. That's another conversation. Just like when we were very much fixated on project management, we would also say that thing around what is a project. You know, and people will give you a classic definition, but we now say, what is a project in your own organization? So it's the same thing. What is a product in your own organization? Because what is a product in one organization might significantly differ from what is a product in another organization. So we'll ask questions like that. What is a product in your own organization? And that's very important. They also said that the material has been built around some 12 principles. So that this whole material has been written taking 12 key things into consideration: comprehensiveness, currency, capability, base, verifiable, enterprise architecture, all that stuff. So that's the way they put it here, that this whole thing in itself has been built around 12 key principles, that the whole document in itself is tied to 12 key principles. And the document is about how many pages is it? It's about almost about 500-page document. So it's a massive document, and they say that it's current, it's comprehensive, it's tied to capabilities, it takes enterprise architecture and agile all into key consideration, and in itself is primarily developed as a digital product. So that's important. It talks about all sorts of things: life cycle dimension, talks about the life cycle for rolling out the product. It also talks about what makes up a product stack. So, but of course, if you know anything about enterprise architecture, you should not be completely, should I say, taken aback by something like this. There's always a life cycle. There's always a stack. The stack might not be visible to the users. The life cycle might not be visible to everybody, but behind every good product is a well executed life cycle, and behind every great product is a stack that is working efficiently. So the material, all this is directly from the material in itself. The material also talks about scaling, and this is a big challenge. So if you look at on my screen, it says that 96% of companies, they just can't scale. Did you hear that? 96% of companies just can't scale. They never go past the founder and a small team. That's a problem. Now, right? And this is global. And so that's why, sometimes I always tell people, I said, do you know the number of fintechs that fail every month? There's a guy that I follow on Instagram. He's always talking about fintechs that are failing. The guy is fixated with fintechs that are fixated on with and on fintechs that are failing. So every time people tell me about, oh, there's this fintech, there's this, that, a lot of them can't scale. A lot of businesses cannot scale. They can't scale over time. They can't scale in terms of revenue. They can't scale from multiple perspectives. And this diagram says that 96% of organizations will just end up around one or two people, product here and there. I mean, I've done product how many times and it has failed myself. So it is tough. It is very tough to scale. So it calls it the scaling crisis. The scaling crisis. And that's why it says that scaling is the third dimension, So it talks about the stack life cycle, but it says to scale now what? That is very difficult to scale from the founder to a team of for it to become an enterprise institution. So most fintechs, most new companies, PSP, PTSP provider, most of them they'll just struggle to be able to scale and to be sustainable into the future. And this is a big deal in itself. I like the fact that it talks about the individual or the founder. So that's why they've called it the digital practitioner, because it's almost like the book, the methodology is written for non-big organizations. So they're really focused on how startups, so to speak, it's like what I can almost say enterprise architecture for startups, something like that. That's what this whole thing is about. It's like what I'll say, like enterprise architecture for startups. So it talks about the individual, the founder, what they should have. Even describes an MVP at some point in time appropriately. It's a decent material. I'm excited to sit with some organizations in the future where we can just go through it Once again, it's not the word of God, it's not a law, but it does provide a lot of concepts for us to think about, for us to think through, and to think about executing. So agile is within the whole context of the whole thing. So if you don't know anything about agile, so I know people who talk about agile, right? So they like to talk about agile, but they are not very familiar with a particular agile tool. And that's why I say I don't see how you're going to say your modern day organization and you don't have Jira. Your whole organization is not tied to Notion or Jira or Asana or one of those platforms, and using it to drive everything that you do within the organization. Using it to drive everything that you do within the organization. So agile is not people, once again, people will just want to talk about these things. They want to say them colloquially, like conference or webinar type conversations. But how can an organization truly, what will be first step in trying to be agile? I was seated with my team and we use Bitrix within our own organizations. Everybody can check out something called Bitrix 24. And I could see the way they were using it. And I was telling them some days ago, I was like, task management is the most important thing here. All the tasks relative to the previous month or the month that is about to come to an end, and all the pre-planned tasks and the status of the tasks and the people who are all should I say involved with the tasks, and the dashboards for us to be able to see the progress of various tasks and things like that. Because people can go for agile training, they can become Scrum Master certified. But what is the first step in an organization becoming agile? What is step one? What is the first thing they need to do? I also say to people, I said, IT cannot say that they're the only ones who need to be agile. How can you be agile in your delivery approach and the customer or the consumer is not agile? It doesn't work that way. Okay, agile means that we'll do it in bits and pieces, we'll learn from it and improve on it. If you're going to meet the head of HR and tell him that you want to give him an application that has 12 modules over 24 months, module by module, he might not accept it. He might say, dude, go away for the next 24 months. Come back when you have the full product and I'll collect it from you. So agile is not just a word we need to throw around. There's also the concept of design thinking. I cannot go through all this now. I have a lady who is my friend, we went to university together. She's an expert in taking people through design thinking, design for products, design for services. How do you ideate? How do you prototype? How do you test? This is key. One of my colleagues that is on the call, they do this all the time. She's seated with her team all the time, creating educational products and things like that. They're doing design thinking, and this is critical. You can't get anywhere in this modern age trying to create digital products without design thinking. And some people already practice this. They document, they think about it. What will our users want? How do we put it together? They prototype it, they test it before they think about launching. He also talks about lean. And the concept of lean is embedded within DevOps in itself. So it talks about lean, what is value? And that's a fundamental question. How do we run the whole thing from beginning all the way to the end? And how do we keep improving? And of course, the material is very big on DevOps. It's extremely big on the concept of DevOps. So once again, sometimes when we teach DevOps, I get one of my team members, either I play one of those guys. I'm like, you know what? You understand Azure DevOps better than I do. How do we marry Azure DevOps as a platform to the fundamental concepts within DevOps? How do we marry Azure DevOps as a platform to some of these fundamental concepts? Because if I take you through a training class and I just go through these things, continuous integration, continuous deployment, I talk about all these things, and you don't understand how a tool or a platform like Azure DevOps allows you to be able to do it, then your knowledge and your understanding is questionable. And you're not going to help an organization adopt these things. So sometimes when people say that, oh, I'm a trainer, I'm like, yeah, but it's not just for you to get on the call and talk about these things. You have to be able to do it. So in our Azure, in our DevOps class, so if you go and look at it, these people set, right? They've got a DevOps course. they've got a DevOps course. What we now do is that we combine that DevOps course with the Microsoft DevOps course so that there can be some clear integration or alignment between concept and reality. So how do you demonstrate this within DevOps? How do you go about it? So when you're going to talk about flow and feedback, how will you go about this within DevOps? It's things like this that you need to know. It also talks about site reliability engineering somewhere in the material. And I won't even think about this beyond how does this work within AWS or within Azure. That's how my brain is going to look at this. Like, okay, is it a couple of VMs? And how do I check for these things? Somebody was still talking about when there was an outage around how to pick zones and groups and things like that. So how on earth would you go around this? What are the tools that Azure and AWS provide that allow you to be able to check site reliability? And that's what happens when you see that some banks, so a certain, when they have a lot of load, then they start to have a lot of problems because even the servers and the storage that they're using might not be able to scale. So there's some reality to it. The material needs a lot of interpretation. So this is the whole thing. This is what the whole material is about. These 12 areas, and the material calls them the 12 competencies for digital transformation. That's what it calls them. And that's why even in our flyer for this event, I insisted that Bodu will put this diagram because it's the critical thing. It's the most important thing tied to this whole body of knowledge. So the fundamentals, infrastructure, how applications are delivered, how products are managed end to end, how tasks and work and projects are managed, how you do what they've termed operations, how you do coordination, how you start to do return on investment, or whether you're meeting your financial objectives. And then he also talks about organization and culture. It talks about governance, risk, security, and compliance, how information is managed. And of course, lastly, my favorite of all, enterprise architecture. Most people think that my favorite is number 10. My favorite is not number 10. My favorite is number 12. In my heart of hearts, I'm an enterprise architect. Beyond being an auditor, beyond being any other thing, I'm an architect. I've got an architect's brain, so to speak. So if you take nothing away from this whole session today, just take this page away with you. That's all. It's the most important page. These 12 things, right? And in the training class, as I said, this is a full week training. We need to spend about 35 hours in the training class, right? Between 35 to 40 hours doing if we're going to do this thoroughly. And I think irrespective of what your organization has or what your organization does, I still think you need to think about this. I still think that, some people say, oh, we're already a fintech. Yes, it's good for you to go back to the basics. Are you the most successful fintech? Are all your products, are they successful? Are you getting value from all your investments? So it doesn't matter how well steeped or how advanced you think your organization is, it's still important that you take these 12 things into consideration. There's some simple things here, but those simple things will kill every other one. So everybody in the chat room, tell me, which one do you think is the most important? Let me just quickly ask that question. Or let me give everybody two. So everybody, let me go to the chat room. Give me two numbers that you think are the most important from where you sit, from your basic understanding of some of these things. Which two are the most important? Quickly, let's go to the chat room, everybody. Quickly, everybody. Give me your top two that you think is the most important. Quickly, good. Right? Okay. 1 and 12. Okay, for some people, 1 and 12. Somebody else, tell me another one. Okay, 10 and 12. Okay. All right. Okay, somebody says 1 and 12 again. All right. Let me see others. Quickly, go ahead. Which other one? Okay, now, come on, everybody, come to the chat room. There's almost 40 people here. Quickly. What else? Okay, Chukus is 9 and 10. I definitely think that without 9, this whole thing will not go anywhere. I think everything falls flat on its face on number 9. Right? Over this is 1 and 12. I definitely, right? Or of course, you're going to say 9. Right? Moses says 9. Yes, Tyler says 9. Yes, I mean, for me, if you tell me that the most important 2, I'll definitely pick 9 and 12 as a person. I'll pick 9 and 12 as a person. Tyler says 6 and 9. I'll pick 9 and 12 because once the culture is poor, every other thing is going to fall flat on its face. Right? So, yes, of course, the fundamentals are also very important. But yes, so once again, this is the whole thing. This is what this whole, the entire body of knowledge is about. The client that I've done this for, I had to list it with a lot of things. I had to list it with a lot of Azure, AWS, Odoo. I had to bring in a lot of those things into this. So let me go. So of course, people who know me, they know that this is my, once again, that's why I said my brain is, I have an architecture-driven brain. So yes, this is the whole thing. This is the whole body of knowledge. So I've tried to capture the critical elements in here. I've tried to capture the critical elements on the page. So you can see individual founder, what the person needs to take into consideration. You can see the team. You can see the team of teams. Sometimes we call them the scrum. Okay. So, and finally, you can see what you need to put in place to have an enduring enterprise. What do you need to put in place to have an enduring enterprise? So you can see it was very painful for me to put this together. Every time I was doing it, I kept add in the middle. I will miss one cell. I will have to reconfigure the cell. And I couldn't tell anybody to do it for me because I just didn't think they were going to do it the way I would want them to do it. So I took my time and I worked on it myself. It was a very painful process, but eventually, and I had to fit it all onto one page. That was the other thing. So yeah, it was a painful process, but I had to do it and I got it right eventually. And I did it because of this class. So once again, you can see everything under digital fundamentals, everybody. You can see everything under digital fundamentals. You can see the things under digital infrastructure. You can see the things under application delivery. So you can see those things. Maybe I should do this. Let me do something. Let me do this. So yeah, so let me just maybe, yeah. Yeah, let me do something like this. Something like this. Right. Good. Something like this. So you can see the key things under digital fundamentals. So the key things under digital infrastructure, the key things under application delivery. So that's why when I'm talking to people about microservices and how they see microservices. Of course, you can tell that Microsoft is my favorite platform. So if you tell me to explain microservices, I'm going to have to go to Azure to show you how it will work. In those days, I used to be very comfortable with a platform called Beanstalk, right? I used to be very comfortable with a platform called Beanstalk from Microsoft, okay? So under Teams, can you see product management? Look at the things under product management, right? Look at the things under product management. Look at the things under work management, and look at the things under operations. Operations here is now talking about, the IT operations when the thing is working in itself. So each line, you need to be able to trace it. You need to be able to trace each line down. So so here you see that under this place, there are 4 key concepts. Am I right? Under this place, the 5 key concepts. I wanted to add all this, but I forgot. Under this, there are another 5 key concepts. Under this, you will see another 5 key concepts. Under work management, you will see another 5 key concepts. Under operations, well, you will see 4 key things. Under coordination, here you will see 5, I believe. Yes. And then under this place, you'll find another 5. And then under organizational culture, you will see 4 key things here. And then under this GRC, all the GRC people who are on the call, okay? Yeah, it will be this. And then which one? All right. And then here, right. So I'm one of those people. My first love is technology. I consider myself to be an IT person. Somebody asked me that. When people ask you, what do you do? Was my brother-in-law some days last week. So what do you tell them? I said, I'm in IT. I said, because that's my first job. Every other thing is secondary. GRC, every other thing that I do is secondary. The first thing that I know about and that I can beat my chest is that if you still give me an operating system, I can install it, I can configure it, and ensure that all the services are working. I think I should still be able to do it for a router and a switch. But yeah, fundamentally, I'm an IT person. Fundamentals will still be, it still come down to the tables of a database and things like that. So, but of course, on top of that, for me, GRC and all those things have now come in, but primarily, I'm an IT person. And I think this weekend I was teaching a course on introduction to computing. And we're talking about ones and zeros and resistors and capacitors and those kinds of things that make up the motherboard. Primarily, fundamentally, I'm an IT person. Every other thing builds upon on that my IT background in itself. So this is the whole thing. This is it. I can't go through the course because that's not the idea behind this. It's for the courses are paid courses. If you come onto our paid course and all that, but yeah, this in itself is extremely good because at least with this, you can understand what they are trying to say. And I think it doesn't matter how big your organization is, whether your organization is Stripe or Flutterwave or Paystack or InterSwitch, whoever, you still need to go back to these fundamentals. I think every bank in the country still needs to go back to these fundamentals. I think everybody still needs to go and look at, and that's the thing. So, in this modern day, we have all sorts of banks, Alternative Bank, Optimus, all the new banks, all the, should I say, digital native banks. And I like them. I like all these digital native banks that, they came up in the digital era, like from day one, they were thinking digital, like their plan is to have 3 or 4 branches across the whole country. That's their plan, maybe 10. But they don't have a plan for anything more than that. So for them, I call them digital native or digital first. So it doesn't matter how big your organization is. You still need to think about all these things. So look at under 6.3.2, everybody. Look at under 6.3.2. Most organizations are still struggling from some of these areas. And I like the way that they brought project management into it. It's one of those things. So look at the whole of 6.3.2. Look at 6.3.3, where it even talks about, it calls it information technology, human resource management. And that's why a methodology, everybody gonna check that methodology called SFIA. I think what version is up now? Is it version 7 or version 8? They keep, I think it's version 8. They keep improving on that documentation, which is the documentation that any serious HR person that is managing IT people needs to be very familiar with. So look at it. Can you see it under that 6.3.3, why culture matters, various industry frameworks and things like that. And of course, for all the GRC people that are on the call, 6.4.1, look at everything that is there under 6.4.1. Okay, governance, in itself, and how to implement governance. I'm blessed, and I'm really blessed. I don't get to do only teaching. I work, and it was very intentional. Remember, 20 something years, we started with a training school, but it was very clear to me that we weren't just going to be a training school. We've got to be an organization that is delivering stuff. And so I'm glad that I went to sit with somebody for free in Abuja. They weren't paying me, and I was working for free, because there's the should I say, the reality of everything that is on my screen. It's not just to learn them theoretically and be able to speak about them, but there is the reality of these things in themselves. Okay, and yeah, so look at GRC: risk, compliance, security, digital governance. So they've even separated governance from digital governance. You understand? They've separated governance from digital governance. And even in the governance, they talk about governance, and then they also talk about how do you actually implement the governance. So there's a long conversation around what exactly is governance before it starts to talk about how on earth do you go about implementing the governance in itself. Okay, and then of course look at everything under 6.4.2. So analytics, Tableau, Power BI, those kinds of things, and the various kinds of dashboards that an organization should have. And then of course, look at architecture. So for all you enterprise architects who are on the call, you can see that they brought it in here. Once again, if you go to the top, you would also see some key things at the top. So you can see digital fundamentals, digital context, digital value methods, digital stack, digital life cycle. So I mean, going through something like this is a lot of discussion. It's not really a one-way thing, because hardly can anybody say that they are an expert in everything that is here. So if we're seated in a training class, we're going to all share thoughts and ideas, and we're going to fashion out what the organization needs to do to get this right. So everybody, if you look under that 6.1.2, when it talks about configuration management and infrastructure as code, how are you going to get this right? The material itself talks about Kubernetes a lot. Talks about Kubernetes a lot, and talks about Docker. And that old DevOps stack, so to speak. So it's a lot. It's a lot that is in there. Finance is there. HR is in there. How you work is there. Product design, product management, product planning is all in there. Operations, that's why it talks about monitoring and telemetry, Nagios and SolarWinds and whatever it is that you're using to do monitoring in your own organization. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And once again, I'm very mindful of time. I know a lot of people have taken out of their break time to be here. Once again, this is not the course. All I wanted to do was to introduce everybody to the course in itself. So if we're going to go through the course, you will see that there are many things we'll talk about. How does business model canvas, lean startup flowchart, how do the digital stack, how do you interpret this for your own organization? How will you implement the digital lifecycle in your own organization? How you go about it? And that's the thing that we do in the training class. So it's not so much as the theory of it, but how on earth do you go through this? How do you go through this? How do you implement this? How are you going to make this work in your own organization? What tools, what platforms will you need to adopt? So we'll talk about the theory of it, the concept of it, but more importantly is how on earth are you going to get this done? How are you going to get this done? How are you going to get this done? So pretty much, I mean, I mentioned source code. Okay, so yeah, the configuration management. So what do you use Git or GitHub or GitLabs? What do you use these platforms for, or Azure DevOps? And what can you further use them for? How are you going to have integrated configuration management when some of the assets are on the cloud and some of them are on-prem? How are you going to make this work? So it's not a conversation. I mean, this is one of the slides that I like. The risks because there's risk everywhere, but there's a certain kind of risk when you're talking about waterfall versus the other kinds of risk when you're talking about agile. Waterfall versus agile. Right, so an architectural view, continuous delivery tool chain. I mean, once again, I can't do all this in this class. So I went to include something like this because of this class. So I went into our ITIL documentation and I brought this. So in your own organization, what do you think you score? Do a quick self-assessment for yourself. Your organization, what do you think you score? Do you think you have all these things? And how do you, if you found an area that you don't have, how are you going to go around it? If you found an area that you do not have, you have not put it in place, what is the plan? And it's not just to buy the technology. People just want to buy stuff. Even when I used to sell solutions, that's what I will sell to you, but your adoption is your problem. I can sell the software to you, but your own adoption, that's your problem to deal with. So think about everybody. Look at the last two. Look at number. In fact, I think for me, some of the key ones here is number 7, number 8, number 11, and number 12. 7, 8, 11, and 12. How are you going to do all this? How are you going to manage these things? What exactly is your organization doing relative to all of these things? I wrote this a long time ago for a client of ours as part of their strategy document. And we started answering, taking them one after the other. Luckily, I knew a lot of those tools. I'd used them, I'd reviewed them, I'd implemented them when I used to implement systems for clients. So they were able to arrive. I was with a client last week, and they were talking about Odoo, we're talking about ERPs, and I found that they already bought 2 or 3 solutions from Zoho. So I had to tell them that, why don't you go for that Zoho Business One? Because the Zoho Business One has many things inside of it that will help you. So for me, for small to medium-sized organizations, you have to start thinking about either Zoho Business One versus Odoo. Of course, I'm more familiar with Odoo than Zoho Business One, but I know the Zoho Business One can also work. So I didn't go to the client to try to convince them to go with Odoo. Instead, I told them, go with Zoho Business One, because you already have 2 or 3 things. The people like the Zoho subscription model, they like the pricing, they like the interface, then they can go for Business One, and everybody needs to go look at that. So these are some of the fundamentals, but if you really want to get digital transformation right, this is forget all those things you had said before, this is the actual practice of the thing. 11 and 12. This is it. This is it. All right. Also, if you come here, 13, 16, 17, 20, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So this is not, it's not theoretical alone. Okay, it's not theoretical alone. So in our training class, we're going to go through each of this. I'll share my thoughts. As I said, if I can close my eyes and I write all these things all over again, I'll probably even write it much better now. So I'll still explain to somebody yesterday the difference between fresh desk versus fresh service. Fresh desk is a CRM. Fresh service is an ITSM tool. But most people assume that they're the same. So have you bought a CRM and you're trying to do ISO 20000, or you've actually bought an ITSM tool? And of course, on the infrastructure side, right? So that's why when we're talking about stack earlier in the day, I was saying, well, of course, there's a stack and things like that. Time, right? Good. Modern day, I mean, you don't have to buy Jira. I'm not a Jira seller. They're not going to give me any money. There are many other tools that we don't even use Jira in our own organization. We use Bitrix, but a lot of my clients use Jira, and I know that Jira is almost becoming like the gold standard when it comes to task and project management and collaboration type thing. Figma is also almost becoming the gold standard when it comes to UI UX type conversations, right? So yeah, think about it. Of course, Odoo, my friend Odoo. And as I said, did some work with the client, and we're looking at Fedena for their school and things like that. So yes, of course, Microsoft. I don't think I can have these kinds of conversations without talking about Microsoft, and of course, Tableau, because we also looked at reporting and things like that. And some client that I was working with, these are some of the recommendations that I made to the organization. I left them here intentionally. Yeah, but fintechs don't work this way, because this organization is not a fintech, actually a government institution as it is. All right, so pretty much everybody. So please tell me what's the highlight of this. We will share something with you if only you do this. So I have a test for everybody to do quickly, but before we do the test, is a small 10 minutes thing. Before we do that, everybody, please, what's your learning point today? Tell me quickly. What's the big thing you've learned today, everybody? Quickly, please, if you don't mind. What's the big thing that you've learned in this session? So yeah, please, if you don't mind. What is the big thing you've learned in this session? Everybody, please, everybody, quickly, share your thoughts with me as we bring. I'm looking for my test on my phone. How is my test? I found it. Wait a minute. So please tell me, what's your big learning point from this session? Anybody? Everybody? What is your big learning point from this session? Did you learn anything? Tell me, what's the highlight of this whole session for you, if you don't mind? Yes, architect, CIO, data, everything title. It's a title. Great. Thank you, Mr. Damari. Right, I'll put the link for a quick test for everybody. All right, I'll put a quick link in there. Everybody, good. So thank you very much, Mr. Damari. Yes, so we'll share the recording with you. Thank you very much. Definitely great. Taiwo, yes, I mean the digital practitioner body of knowledge in itself. Oh yes, absolutely. That practitioner body of knowledge is great. Can I hear from others? I've got about 40 people on this call. Please, can I hear from you, everybody? Give me some feedback. What is your big learning point from this session? And then if you go into the chat room, click on that assessment and see whether you're able to do it. Click on the assessment. Does it open on your own end? Yes. Everybody click on the assessment, see whether you're able to do it. Can I hear from everybody very quickly, please? Okay, good. Thank you very much, Olumide Ojo. I agree with you. Thank you, Olumide. My namesake. Thank you very much, Olumide. My namesake. Okay. Good. Can I hear from others, please? Can I hear from everybody, please? There's so many people on the call. Can I hear from you all? As we bring this to a beautiful close, can I get to hear from everybody? Christy is here, Bukola is here, Mr. Denis is here, Edith is here, Downsy is here, Beja is here, Afiz is here, Honesty is here, Ibrahim, let me hear from all of you, please. Jennifer is here. Can I hear from you as we bring this to a close? And please click on the link, and try out your hands. For all the people who passed, we will send you something. If you pass, we will send something to you. So can I hear from people? Can I still get some more feedback? And then for everybody that passes, we'll send something to you. Can I get some more feedback, please? We've come to a close. Come to some sort of close to this session. Can I hear from everybody? Okay, good. Yes, Sonny, that design thinking is extremely important. So you can go research it. You will find, so I mean, many things. So it's how product teams, how they go through their thinking. All right. So Taiwo, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. So thank you very much, Edith. That's very important, right? So if you don't leverage technology, you're going to struggle. If you don't leverage technology, you are going to struggle. If you don't leverage technology, you're going to struggle. All right. Okay, any other person as we bring this session to a close? Bodun, where is our feedback form? Bodun Victoria, where is the feedback form? Everybody, please do the assessment. Test yourself, do the assessment very quickly. Test yourself, see what you might score. Some of you are going to, I'm sure some of you will score 100% in the assessment. I'm certain some of you will score 100% in the assessment. All right, Ibrahim, thank you. Yes, I'm glad. I'm very glad. We'll share the links with everybody. Anybody that does the assessment, we'll share a couple of other things with you if you do the assessment. All right, so Susan, Richard, Karim, Umar, any other person, any other feedback as we bring this session to a beautiful close. Any other person as we bring this to a beautiful close. Okay, so did everybody get the assessment link? Please confirm if you got the assessment link. Please confirm if you got the assessment link. Okay, good. All right, everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. Denise. It's always great to have you, sir. It's always great to have you. Mr. Oyo, international architect. It's great to have you here. Definitely great to have you here. As it is. Okay. All right, people. Thank you. I think that's it from me. I'm not sure we got did you yeah, just do the assessment. Now I think that's the key thing. Just do the assessment, everybody. I hope all of you have the link. Please take the assessment. I mean, nobody's going to beat you if you score 1/15. So just try it and just see. Just try it. Just try the assessment and just see what you get. If you pass the assessment, I'm sure Training Heights people will be happy to send you some kind of certificate or something along those lines. Okay. Good. Once again, thank you very much, everyone. God bless you. Thank you. See you later. But you're not meant to send the feedback form to me. You're meant to send the feedback form in the chat room. I'm not the one that is going to take the feedback.